So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start showing you how to use this by getting you started on the very first constant velocity application you're going to do. So up in this section, it asks you what are a couple of ways to move the man around. You can actually just use your cursor and move him and let him go. Um, so you can actually put him in different places. You could use this slider and you can reposition him using the slider. I think the best way to do it is to highlight this location and simply put in a number. Um, and hit the return key, and he'll just hop over to the number that you've specified. So that's what I suggest you do. How do we make him move automatically? We're going to reset so we can see that. To make him move automatically, we want to use the velocity settings or the acceleration settings. So we can give him a velocity that's positive, and he'll start moving in the positive direction. Oh, the sound is on, so he crashed into the wall, and we heard that. Let's turn the sound off. We can give him a negative velocity and he will come back the other way. I can change his velocity. So notice I'm toggling back and forth from positive to negative velocity, and look at that, he changes directions. Isn't that interesting? The acceleration is jumping around all over the place as well. So you can kind of see how each of those things affects another. I'm going to click Reset All. Then let's go ahead and kind of set him up to have him do something. Let's put him over here at positive 10, and let's give him a velocity of negative, well, let's give him a velocity of negative 2 meters per second. So he's moved all the way over here to this side, and we're going to give him a fairly significant velocity of 2 meters per second. So he'll be able to get across this screen from positive 10 to negative 10 in, let's see, that'll be in 10 seconds. That's not fast enough. Let's change this to negative 4. We want to get there a little bit faster. So if we play this, then he'll move across the screen. He's going to hit the wall, but we're not going to hear the sound this time since I turned it off. And so he'll stop when he hits the wall. So our graph looks like this. I'm going to go ahead and hit the stop key here so we aren't collecting data any longer and the timer stopped. How do we use the playback functions? Well, we simply click the playback right here, and then we can just start it from scratch and see what happened. This is exactly the motion that we saw a minute ago. And then if we want to slow it down, then we just move the slider over. So I can back him up a little bit more. I've slowed it down so we can analyze it more easily. We can speed it up if there's parts of it we don't want to see. We don't want to spend time watching. So that's pretty intuitive. One of the other things that you can do is start him through and just go through a little at a time. And when you click this incremental key here, notice it just goes up by 1/10 of a second. So that can be very helpful whenever it's time to fill out this part of the graph down here, where you may want to get at a specific time. You can just be clicking through right there. Okay, how do we quickly reset the man to starting conditions? That was Reset All. You saw me do that a couple of times. I'm going to show you one other quick thing, though, that is going to be helpful. Your graphs on the handouts don't go all the way through to 20 seconds. So this scale is too long on the time axis. So we can go in here at the very bottom and we can click this plus key, and we want to bring this over so that notice that this time axis is getting shorter, and we want to bring the time axis over so that we're just looking at 10 seconds worth of information, because that's all we need. When we look down here on these graphs, notice that they only go to 10 seconds. I can't pull that over where you can see it, sorry. But it's going to be helpful for us if we are able to modify this. So remember that. That's going to be an important thing to do so that your graphs look right. Otherwise, it looks really weird when all the data is squished up against one side. The other thing we can do is use this to be able to change this axis, the up and down axis. So that's what these top ones are for on each graph. So when I do this, it changes the velocity axis on this graph, so it makes it a little bit more readable for us. And then same thing down here. This one will change the acceleration axis. So let's go ahead and just start one. Let's do a Reset All, and let's just do the first one. So if we start the man at the tree, which is a starting position of -8, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type in -8. It tells me to give him a velocity of 1.2 meters per second. So I'll type in 1.2 meters per second. I'll start the man's motion by clicking on this. And then it's already set, it's reset itself back to 20 seconds. So when about 10 seconds pass, I'm going to go ahead and stop him because I don't need any more data than that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop him right there. I'm going to change this time axis, remember, because I want to zoom in on what I just saw happen. I'm going to go ahead and change this axis as well. So I'm going to zoom in on it. So I'm going to add the plus sign on it so that that's as far as we can go. So it looks better. We can find more information by doing that. I'm not going to answer these questions for you, but you have it set up now so that you can make your way through this. Remember, to be able to do this, you want to do the playback feature and then probably just click over on this so that if you get to 1 second, then you'll be able to tell that at 1 second, the position was negative 6.85. So you don't have to guess what that is. It gives you that value right here. And the velocity after 1 second was still 1.2 meters per second. The velocity was constant. We click on over to 2 seconds. Same sort of thing. So when we get 2 seconds across the top, then we see his position is negative 5.65. So we can record that in this graph. Oh, his velocity is still 1.2 meters per second. Well, that makes sense because the acceleration is 0. We have no acceleration for this, this guy. He moved at a constant velocity. He didn't get faster and he didn't get slower. You're going to go ahead and record the motion on this graph as well. And then you're going to be able to do a calculation of area under the curve to confirm that the distance, the displacement that he had from his starting and ending position made sense. So I'm going to ask you to make that calculation as well. So good luck. You're doing a good job. Be sure you get this done and you're ready to talk about it or ask any questions of me next time. Sorry I had to be gone. I had a meeting I had to go to.